almost got it right. So we're going to do it one more time. Only this time we are going to go massive. We are going to go big, right? Bosisi, cela nililizele ma-outi, cela nisha ma-flate, ne? Ke kopa ri shabe die flate sentswembo blind today, all right? Ons moet seker maak, ons skree, ons gil. Hierdie is 'n grade plegtigheid, mense. All right, so on 3, 2, 1, let's go! Yay! 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 Woohoo! Wonderful. Thank you. You may be seated. Wow. They heard you all the way at Tygerberg, I'm sure. Dit is fantasties om almal hier te sien. It's absolutely lovely. This is one of our highlights at the university, to celebrate with our students their amazing achievements. So it's absolutely wonderful to have you here. It's wonderful to have your family, your friends, and your guests here. And it's just phenomenal to celebrate with you. So thank you for gracing us with your presence. So on to a couple of announcements. The toilet facilities are here behind us. And you can get there by first exiting the hall and then entering from the side. All toilet entrances are clearly marked. We also have medical assistance available behind the stage. If you need help, please don't hesitate to approach any of the ushers or any of the graduates. Any lost and found items can be handed in at the information kiosk in front of the venue. If you have lost something, you are welcome to inquire there. In the event of an emergency evacuation of this venue, please proceed calmly to the exit closest to you and congregate on the rugby fields between the Dani Craven Stadium and this hall, and that is to my left. Please follow the instructions of the safety officer and campus security staff. A prayer room is available for our Muslim graduates and guests in the sports science building behind this venue, that is to my right, and the ushers will gladly guide you there. Now, I'm sure before I got on the stage, you were mesmerized by our beautiful musicians, and I'd like to introduce them to you and invite you to help me in giving them a warm round of applause. I will read out their names, and then we can properly make some more noise pollution. They are the University of Stellenbosch Symphonic Wind Ensemble, and they are conducted by Pamela Kierman and Richard Kuhn. The vocalist that we have with us is Session Johnson and Jason September. Let's give it up for our musicians. The presiding officer at this ceremony is the Chancellor, Justice Edwin Cameron. When we get to the awarding of degrees, graduates, listen carefully. Please walk up to the dean and hand your announcement card to the official. Then, after your name has been read, walk to the presiding officer, bow, and then allow the hooding by the registrar before you turn around for acknowledgement by the audience, and then you proceed to the end of the stage. I'll repeat it. This time I'll give you a little bit of extra good news so that you must remember this moment for what it is, a special moment indeed. I see many of you have beautiful long hair, long locks, hair on fleek. It's proper, right? So when you get to the presiding officer and you bow, remember to tuck all of those long locks behind your left ear. Don't forget. Tuck it behind your left ear because the photographers over there will capture that moment, and I'm sure you want to go put it up somewhere on a wall, so we have to make sure it looks perfect, right? So that instruction again, please walk up to the dean and hand your announcement card to the official, and then wait for your name to be read. After your name has been read, you walk over to the presiding officer, you bow, hair behind the left ear, and then you move on to where the registrar will be to allow for hooding before you turn around for acknowledgement and cheers by the audience, and then you may proceed to the end of the stage. Members of the audience, you are welcome to take as many photographs as you wish, but we ask that you please switch off your sound and your flash, and that you do so for the duration of the ceremony. Each and every graduate deserves their big moment. Therefore, we request that you do not leave the hall before the whole ceremony has been concluded. And once the procession has left, we respectfully request that you exit the hall swiftly so that cleaning and preparation for the next ceremony may commence as soon as possible. Please take along any waste items such as water bottles, tissues, and dispose of these safely in the bins outside. The official photographers have set up a studio in the sports science building behind this hall. That is to my right. Graduates and their family and friends are welcome to make use of this service. Also be on the lookout for the Marty Shop mobile unit for purchasing Stellenbosch University branded items to remind you of the successful academic journey that we are celebrating here today. And of course, this is also a wonderful moment where we induct you officially into the global network of Marty's alumni all over the world. Wherever you go, you must follow Marty's Alumni on all of its social media platforms so that you can stay connected with your fellow graduates all over the world and be in touch with how you can be involved in our university. And hopefully we can get you to come do some more degrees, more and more and more as we go along. You would have noticed when you sat down, there's a little Marty pin that's a gift from us to you. Wear it with pride. Wherever we see you wearing that pin all over the world, we will know you are one of us. And of course, for those of you that have had the privilege of traveling all over the world, the minute somebody recognizes you as one of them, it's absolutely phenomenal. They tell you where all of the specials are, where all of the cheap places are, and it's just phenomenal, right? So who wouldn't want to take complete opportunity of such a great network, all right? And then after the ceremony, I know it'll be early, but we invite you to our brand new alumni clubhouse at Distal. That is between this venue and the Dani Craven Stadium to my left. We invite you to celebrate your achievements with a glass of something. Because it's early, I will just say something. But it's something cold and it might have bubbles in it. So please come and join us at the Alumni Clubhouse as we not only welcome you as a member of the new cohort of alumni, but of course that we celebrate with your family and friends and we have a toast to your amazing achievement. In adherence to the university's sustainability principles and to foster responsible resource usage, we have given each graduate one publication with the program of the ceremony. All guests have received a QR code that can be scanned, which will take them to the online version of that very publication. Click on the link that says 25 to 28 March to receive the full program. Now, this is the last piece of good news I want to give you, and you must remember to share this as wide as possible. This ceremony can be followed via live streaming. I know many of you would have loved to have family and friends and more of them join you, and unfortunately they couldn't be here. I also know many of them that said you couldn't be here, all the naysayers, all the detractors, all the haters, all the jealous ones. So make sure you share this link with them, because this graduation ceremony can now be followed via live streaming from anywhere in the world. The web link that you must share with them is www.sun.ac.za/streaming. Share it with them, not only to celebrate, but to also gloat to those ones, right? www.sun.ac.za/streaming. You're welcome to share your graduation experiences on social media, and the hashtag to use is #SUGrad, and we ask that you tag us in all of your pictures and all of your moments so that we can celebrate with you. Ons is bykans gereed om met die plegtigheid te begin. Ons vra dat u sal opstaan vir die akademiese prosesie en sal bly staan tot nadat ons die nasionale lied gesing het. Lixesha lokuba kuqalwe ngomsitho. Sicela wonke umuntu aphakame ngexesha kungenwa isithwalandwe eholweni. Sime njalo ukuzwe kuculwe umhobe wesizwe. Graduates, distinguished guests, family, friends, Marties, the moment of truth has arrived. Please rise for the academic procession and remain standing until after we have sung the national anthem. Enkosi kakhulu. Baie dankie. Thank you very much.
Ons gaan nog van die orkes hoor. We're going to hear more of their musical craft because we begin our proceedings. Ons begin ons verrigtinge met die sing van die nasionale lied. Thank you. Please be seated. Sal u asseblief dit plekke inneem. Thank you for your applause to the musicians. Het hulle tereg toegejuig. They're going to leave us now. And that wonderful soaring soprano, daar die pragtige stem wat ons alles oor uitgehoor het, is Sashon Johnson. Waar is u, Sashon? Baie dankie. Dit lig sommer 'n mens se hart. En ons het gehoor, we heard the Stellenbosch University Symphonic Wind Ensemble, conducted by Pamela Kierna and Richard Kuhn. Waar is u? Waar is Richard? Baie dankie, hulle gaan ons nou verlaat. Ek moet nou 'n verklaring doen. I have to do a formal announcement to constitute this gathering by virtue of the powers vested in me as Chancellor. I hereby declare that this congregation of the university has been properly constituted. Ek verklaar hiermee kragtens die mag aan my toevertrou as kanselier dat hierdie kongregasie van die universiteit behoorlik saamgestel is. Nou kan ons voortgaan. En ons doen dit deur 'n gewyde oomblik, just where you are seated. We've all come from far. We've come far on a spiritual journey, far on a physical journey, and we are here on an exquisite, absoluut uitnemende Stellenbosch-oggend, a beautiful morning in Stellenbosch, to rejoice in these wonderful people on my left, on your right. Let's take a moment just to reflect within our own belief system quietly what this means for us and why we're here and how it strengthens our purpose as humans. Baie dankie. Thank you very much. I want to welcome you all again. Nogmaals is u baie welkom. Ons weet dat u die verrigtinge gaan geniet. En hoe weet ek dit? Omdat u reeds uself bewys het as so enthousiastiese gehoor. You've already shown your engagement with the proceedings. And we have a special word of welcome to our Senate member, who's Mr. Rubushan Nayagar, and also joining us today are representatives from the SRC, who are members of Senate and Council. Die Senaat is die hoogste akademiese inrigting op Stellenbosch, al die professore met verteenwoordiging van vakbonde and from the students. And today represented is MX Abongile Kotu, who's on my right, and Mr. Reagan Ayanda Johnson. Where's Mr. Johnson? Also here. We also welcome online. There are many, many thousands of people across the world who will be watching what happens. And that prompts me to say that don't forget to our graduates, when you walk across the stage, it's your moment. You've worked for it. So you might want to dance or wave to the camera. I'm hoping that some of you at least will dance, but don't forget, you don't have to be shy, you don't have to be inhibited. This is a wonderful ceremony of celebration, a ceremony not of formality. So aan my linkerkant is ons rector en fisiekanselier. Professor Wim de Villiers is the rector and vice-chancellor. On his left is Mr. Stan du Plessis, the chief operating officer of the university. Mr. du Plessis is a distinguished economist who grinds all the figures and he wrestles with NSFAS. How many of you have had to wrestle with NSFAS? Some of you have had to. And Professor du Plessis' job is that. On his left is Professor Sibusiso Moyo. And I've got a secret to tell you about Professor Moyo. It's her birthday today. And where is Professor Ramjugarnath? Here you are. On my right is Professor Ramjugarnath. They are all deputy vice-chancellors, and they're joined by Professor Nico Koopman on Professor Moyo's left. Then we also welcome a very special word of welcome to Professor Elmi Miller, whom all the graduates know. She was one of Stellenbosch's most successful acts of theft. We stole Professor Miller from UCT. She is an internationally renowned transplant surgeon, and if I remember correctly what she told me late last year, twee dae per week doen sy nog oorplantings. Merkwaardig. Professor Miller, we are overjoyed to see you. And next to her is the Vice Dean for Learning and Teaching in the medical school, Professor Karen Baitjes, on that side. Waar is die professor? Bly om te sien. Ja. And then on Professor Ramjugarnath's right is our registrateur, Dr. Renel Retief. En haar regterkant is Mefara Fredericks, wat die assistent registrateur binne die fakulteit. And I want to say we've got a most magnificent turnout today. It's very seldom that we see all these seats on the stage occupied. And look how wonderful they look, if I may say that, without seat. No. And we thank each of them. Why are they here? They're here because this is such a momentous occasion where we welcome the top learning, research, and rethinking, the doctoral candidates who you will hear now, and then the medical graduates, which is a great joy. And we dress up and we formalize it and we come in ceremonially because we mark another advance in human knowledge and human commitment and human enterprise. So thank you to all the academic members of staff who've come. Ek kan maar weer hande klap. Ons is drietalig op Stellenbosch, trilingual, very proudly, and we are now going to have a welcome to you in isiXhosa. I don't think that Dr. Zameka Sijadu is here. No. So we're going to ask Mr. Bantubonke Lou. Hy is ook drietalig. Jy kan iets voorheen gehoor hoe vlot hy in Afrikaans is. English, Xhosa, what other languages? 7. Daar.
Talk about pressure. Bese namkelekile kodwa ndizawuphinda ndithi namkelekile nonke kulomsitho wothwaliso sidanga. Ningakhulula ibhayiki zenu sihlale kamnandi sizawubhiyoza namhlanje impa ne ke batla hore ho le amohela le ka Sesotho re thabile ho keteka le lona namkelekile nonke. Enkosi.
Baie dankie. Ek het myself nie voorgestel nie, and I'm Edwin Cameron. I'm Chancellor, which is a ceremonial role. It's a role without powers, but with lots of enjoyment. I get to come here, I get to discover what's going on in the university, I get to meet interesting people, and I get to attend the medical graduation every year, which for me is a particular joy. And Professor Alumni Miller's, one of her breakthroughs in transplant affected people with HIV. In the early years of the epidemic, I was involved at WITS, and the medical professors, including Professor Buddy Lawson, refused to touch people with HIV. That affected me because at that stage, I knew I was living with HIV, but I wasn't talking about it to anyone because of the stigma. And the stigma is one of the things that Professor Alumni Miller broke through. And she started doing transplant. She devised new ways of transplanting for people with HIV and from people with HIV as well. So I take particular joy. Ek kan maar weer vir haar hande klap. Sy verdien dit. The other reason why I mention my own HIV status is that I was diagnosed almost 30 years ago. Dis lang terug, nee, en ek is hier vier en lewendig en dankbaar en vol jubeling. Hoe sê hulle ons met 'n lied op my lippe en die Here in my hart. I'm here with joy, and that pertains to you as medical graduates, because when I was diagnosed, there was a tremendous death rate from HIV. I knew that I was going to die before I turned 40. I knew I would never see a democratic South Africa, but I'm here today with great joy, as I said, and that's because of people like you, medical researchers, physicians with profound commitment in our own country and elsewhere that have secured antiretroviral treatment. There was a huge fight in our country to get President Thabo Mbeki, who shamefully, disgracefully rejected the science of HIV, etiology of HIV. And each one of you this morning graduates because you adhere to the logic of empirical science, of intervention in people's health. I started antiretrovirals einde van 1997, end of 1997, and after however long that is, more than I can count, the antiretrovirals. So a medical breakthrough, and there will be more medical breakthroughs from these people, the doctrines and the graduates. So I welcome you all with those very personal words of joy and affirmation, and I take one tablet a day, and it's transformed many lives. There are 7 million of us in this country who are living with HIV, and we're reaching around about 6 million who are on antiretrovirals. It's become cheap. When I started, it was unaffordably expensive, but also through the kind of research and breakthroughs that these graduates crossing stage are going to do today. That price has come down, 325 Rand a month. So let us all rejoice in the wisdom and skill of these young people you're going to see. Nou de kans sal jy asseblief oorneem. Jy kan weer vir haar toe juig.
Meneer die kanselier, ek versoek u om die graad dokter in wysbegeerte in die fakulteit Geneeskunde en Gesondheidswetenskappe aan die kandidaate wat ek aan u voorstel te verleen. Die betrokke promotor sal telkens 'n kort verklaring oor die proefskrif doen. Dr. Conferring, Chancellor, Alumni, Logistical, Conferring, Doctoral, Proceedings, 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 Alumni, Logistical, Conferring, Docto Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer on the candidates whom I'll present to you the degree Doctor of Philosophy in the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. The supervisor concerned will give a brief outline of the dissertation. Frank Bediaku Adie, the supervisor, Professor Kaura, will read a short declaration.
Mr. Chancellor, parent-adolescent sexual reproductive health information communication interventions are known to improve communication in the parent-adolescent pair. Following a systematic review, 2 published and 2 submitted articles, evidence elucidated the value of parent-adolescent sexual reproductive health intervention. SRH information communication intervention, known as Daraja, was adapted to a culturally sensitive intervention for implementation within the Ghanaian context. Therefore, Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the PhD Nursing Science degree on Frank Agiai.
Sarah Lee Arnold, with dissertation, A Biomechanically Informed Approach to Rehabilitation of Unilateral Transtibial Amputees, supervision provided by Professor Venter.
Mr. Chancellor, the study examined biomechanically guided rehabilitation for unilateral transtibial amputees, focusing on muscle synergies. Combining surveys and a biomechanical analysis, it identified challenges that amputees face, and it also investigated specific exercises that are prescribed. Results showed differences in muscle activation of functional movements and exercises. Personalized plans may enhance the daily function and well-being of UTTA individuals. I request you to confer the degree on Sarah Arnold. Sorry, moet ek so lank aan kom hier.
Maria Yvonne Charumbira, with dissertation Towards Strengthening of Rehabilitation at Primary Care, exploring the needs and perspectives regarding rehabilitation services in 2 South African and Zimbabwean settings, with supervision provided by Professor Quinette Lowe.
Mr. Chancellor, this project explored the type and impact of functional problems in adults, the associated rehabilitation service needs, and practices which may strengthen primary care rehabilitation in low-resource settings. Findings showed that patients attending primary health care in South Africa and Zimbabwe have a high but under-recognized need for rehabilitation. I therefore request you to confer the degree of PhD in physiotherapy on Maria Charumbira.
Corneille de Vos, with dissertation, A Biopsychosocial Follow-up Model for Children Born with Esophageal Atresia, supervision provided by Professor Goussart.
This PhD emphasizes the need for a comprehensive biopsychosocial follow-up model for the patients with esophageal atresia, including a comprehensive feeding history, nutritional status, gastrointestinal and respiratory systems, and a complete clinical examination incorporating psychosocial factors and integrating esophageal atresia-specific support groups into a multidisciplinary team. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the degree on Corneille de Vos.
Rebecca Ann Dwyer-Leonard with dissertation, The Application of Immunological Biomarkers and Enhanced Pathogen Detection for the Epidemiological Characterizations of Bovine Tuberculosis in African Rhinoceros, supervision by Professor Miller.
Mr. Chancellor, Rebecca Ann Dwyer-Leonard research focused on the detection of M. bovis infection in African rhinoceros to investigate the epidemiology in a naturally infected population. Her research contribution, the knowledge and significant understanding of the pathogens impacting the health and conservation of African rhinos and serve as a basis for future management strategies. I request you to confer the degree on Rebecca Ann Dwyer-Leonard.
Anthea K. Hansen with dissertation, A Student Perspective on Social Responsiveness with Undergraduate Medical Education, an exploratory case study in a South African higher education institution, with supervision provided by Professor Jacobs.
Mr. Chancellor, this study in health professions education makes a significant contribution to knowledge through its deep insights into what is needed to anchor social justice within medical curricula. The research offers a student perspective on social responsiveness within undergraduate medical education, as well as a theoretical framework for implementing social justice principles in medical curricula. I request you to confer the degree on Anthea Hansen.
Raisa Hussan with dissertation, Investigation of the Antimicrobial Activity of Fungal Endophytes and their magnetic dendrimer stabilized nanoparticles against mycobacteria, with supervision provided by Professor Mavumengwana.
Mr. Chancellor, TB remains one of the biggest killers in the developing world. The study sought to find new ways of getting the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It went further to synthesize dendrimer-stabilized nanoparticles which were decorated with bioactive fungal agents, and these showed exciting results against MTB. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the degree.
Frida Kemp with dissertation, Posisiespesifieke aktiwiteitsprofiele van hoëvlak Suid-Afrikaanse netbalspelers tydens oefening en wedstryde met supervisie deur Professor Venter.
Meneer die fisiekanselier, die fisieke vereistes van hoëvlak netbalspelers is tydens internasionale en nasionale wedstryde geanalyseer. Unieke aktiwiteitsprofiele van spelers vir kombinasies in oefengroepe is volgens hulle posisie-spesifieke eise tydens wedstryde geïdentifiseer. Internasionale wedstryde stel deurgangs hoër eise as nasionale wedstryde, veral in spelerlading. Fisieke voorbereiding van spelers moet volgens hulle unieke posisies gedoen word. Ek versoek dat u die graad aan Frida Kemp toeken.
Natasha Kitchen with dissertation, Insights into Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder, the role of the microbiome, supervision provided by Professor Hemmings.
Mr. Chancellor, this study investigated the association between the maternal gut and vaginal microbiome, as well as the infant gut microbiome and fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. Abundances of certain maternal and infant gut microbial factors were associated with infant FASD diagnosis. Identifying the underlying microbial mechanisms contributing to the etiology of FASD may guide future therapeutic interventions. I request you to confer the degree on Natasha Kitchen.
Precious Zama Mahlobo with dissertation Infectiousness of TB Patients and Factors Associated with the Airborne Survival of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Tuberculosis Infectiousness and Transmission. Supervision provided by Professor Tron.
Mr. Chancellor, this work studied the infectiousness of people suffering from tuberculosis using two highly novel neurobiology sampling platforms. It asked questions such as why are some people more infectious than others, and also described cheap and novel ways of potentially disrupting transmission of tuberculosis. It showed how TB can be spread by breathing and how cheap face masks can reduce infectiousness, significantly advancing our understanding of our ability to stop the spread of tuberculosis. I hereby request you confer the degree on Ms. Sama Mahlobo.
Francis Damiano Masie with dissertation Stakeholder Views on Current Policies on Consent and Future Use of Biological Samples and Data Collected in Biomedical Studies in Malawi and South Africa, with supervision provided by Professor Rennie.
Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Rennie, the supervisor, and co-supervisor Professor Walter Jarko, Dr. Masia's research used qualitative methods, and his dissertation focused on stakeholder views towards current policies on consent and future research use of biological samples and data in Malawi and South Africa. The dissertation, which produced 2 peer-reviewed publications, provides information on potential use for policy modification in these 2 countries. Mr. Chancellor, I request that you confer the degree PhD in Clinical and Research Ethics upon Francis Masia. Thank you.
Selekane Ananias Motadi with dissertation Efficacy of Consumption of Cucurbita moschata, this is a butternut seed paste, in improving zinc and iron status in preschool children, with supervision provided by Professor Mbenyane.
Mr. Chancellor, the consumption of butternut seed paste improves zinc and iron status in preschool children via a multiple method research approach, experimental, qualitative, cross-sectional, pre-test, pro-test trial. Management of micronutrient deficiencies in preschool children should utilize behavioral strategies such as dietary diversity and affordable, culturally appropriate nutrition and sustainable approaches. I request the Chancellor to confer the Doctor of Nutritional Sciences to Mr. Selekane Motadi.
Mr. Chancellor, our next candidate is Mercy Namuna Mulaku with dissertation Pre-treatment loss to follow up in adults with pulmonary tuberculosis in Kenya, contributing factors and evidence-based interventions. Supervision is provided by Professor Young.
Mr. Chancellor, pre-treatment loss to follow-up has been shown to contribute to patient losses in the TB care cascade, resulting in high community transmission and mortality rates. The candidate, using both evidence synthesis and primary research, assessed the scope, the factors, and the strategies to reduce pre-treatment loss to follow-up in adults with pulmonary TB. I request you to confer the degree on Mercy Maluku.
out of the way.
Brian Simapulasi Munu Munansangu with dissertation Immune Metabolic Profile of Innate and Adaptive Cells in Mycobacterium Tuberculosis Infection with supervision provided by Professor Duplessis-Burger.
Mr. Chancellor, the candidate investigated the metabolic parameters of immune cells from the blood and bronchoalveolar lavage of individuals with various clinical outcomes after Mycobacterium tuberculosis exposure. Results show that myeloid-derived suppressor cells and monocytes from those with active TB are glycolytic, but when challenged with MTB, utilizes mitochondrial oxidative phosphorylation and engage in fatty acid oxidation. I request you confer the degree on Mr. Muno Munansangu.
Chikobisa Ngladlavu with dissertation Diagnostic Accuracy of Novel Sputum and Non-Sputum-Based Tuberculosis Diagnostics in HIV-positive patients initiating antiretroviral therapy with supervision provided by Professor Tron.
Mr. Chancellor, diagnosing tuberculosis in South Africans living with HIV is one of the most pressing public health issues. Obisa addressed key knowledge gaps in people coming to the clinic for the first time to start their antiretroviral therapy, and her work contributed to the most recent World Health Organization guideline updates for improving the diagnosis of TB in people with HIV. I hereby request you confer the degree on the candidate. Thank you.
Charlene Omrawu with dissertation Personality and Problematic Usage of the Internet with reference to impulsivity and compulsivity, supervision by Professor Lochner.
Mr. Chancellor, rates of problematic usage of the Internet, or PUI, are rapidly increasing and are of global concern. This study identifies risk and protective factors that may be useful in PUI prevention. Based on these findings, a new theoretical framework is proposed to clarify the role of personality in PUI. I request you to confer a degree PhD in psychiatry on Charlene Omrao.
Caroline Bonareri Osoro with dissertation Strengthening Evidence to Policy Pathways to Improve Management of Malaria in Pregnancy with supervision provided by Professor E. Okodu.
Mr. Chancellor, malaria remains a significant public health challenge, with the most vulnerable populations being children under 5 and pregnant women. The candidate assessed the impact of antifolate resistance on malaria treatment in pregnancy, assessed healthcare providers' knowledge and perceptions in managing malaria in pregnancy, and how scientific evidence is transformed into policy. Mr. Chancellor, I kindly request you to confer the degree on Caroline Osoro.
Catherine Emma Pitt with dissertation, a case study exploring community inclusion of adults with intellectual disabilities who participate in a protective workshop in Cape Town. Supervision provided by Professor Geiger.
Mr. Chancellor, Kath Pitt's study explored community aspirations and opportunities of persons with intellectual disability attending protective workshops in Cape Town. She collected her data using multiple methods and simplified methods to meet the needs of the participants, who are a rarely researched group. The findings show ways by which participants aspire to be included in their communities, and they are rarely explored in research. I request you to confer the degree on Catherine Pitt.
Alpheus Rasekala with dissertation The Development of Guidelines to Manage Burnout and Stress of Dietitians and Nutritionists in the Workplace, with supervision provided by Professor Mbenyane.
Mr. Chancellor, Alpha employed an explanatory sequential mixed method research design. The guidelines he developed have 14 themes grouped into individual, organizational, and relationships codomains. The research reveals the need for guidelines to improve job satisfaction and reduce stress and burnout for practicing dietitians and nutritionists in South Africa, and will be useful for the individuals and organizations. I request you to confer the degree PhD in Nutritional Sciences to Mr. Alpha Rasekala.
Jacobus Petrus Johannes Smit with dissertation A Retrospective Review of the Pediatric Orthopedic Outreach Services for Central South Africa from 1997 to 2016, with supervision provided by Professor Burger.
Mr. Chancellor, this work scrutinized pediatric orthopedic outreach services in Central South Africa in terms of presentation patterns, severity of disease, and management endpoints. It further reflected on the interdependence of outreach and the smaller health institution, making recommendations on ways to overcome social exclusion of populations residing in remote geographical locations. I request you to confer the degree on Cobus Smit.
Marwin Soden with dissertation The Role of a Multi-Strain Probiotic in Very Low Birth Weight Premature Infants, with supervision provided by Professor van Niekerk.
Mr. Chancellor, despite advances in the survival of preterm neonates, there is still significant morbidity. This study evaluated the role of a multi-strain probiotic in very low birth weight premature infants and found a reduction in drug-resistant gram-negative bacteria, hospital-acquired bloodstream infections, and necrotizing enterocolitis, with improved feeding tolerance as well as weight and length gain. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the degree upon Marwin Soden.
Bianca Michelle Todd with dissertation The Clinical, Pathological and Molecular Features of Acral Melanoma in a South African Population, with supervision provided by Professor Kotze.
Mr. Chancellor, the candidate studied epidemiological, clinical, pathological and molecular genetic features in South African patients with acral melanoma. The interdisciplinary research resulted in several publications which highlighted the advanced disease stage at diagnosis and emphasized the need for early detection and targeted treatment to improve clinical outcome. Precision oncology may become a reality in research-limited settings through pathology-supported genetic testing based on the identification of two unique subgroups. I request you to confer the degree to Bianca Todd.
Gabriella Bella van Balen with dissertation Thoracic Spinal Mobility in Adults, Clinical Assessments and Exercise Intervention, with supervision provided by Professor Venter.
Mr. Chancellor, the study addressed the under-researched upper back region of the spine, emphasizing its impact on overall spinal biomechanics, breathing, and posture. Smartphones and mobile apps were shown to be reliable and valid tools to measure the movements of the upper back. It was also confirmed that the corrective exercises implemented improved rotation of the upper back in adults. I request you to confer the degree on Gabriella van Balen.
Alberta Susanna Johanna van der Walt, with dissertation, The Trauma of Non-Marital Romantic Relationship Breakups Among Emerging Adults, Associations with Post-Traumatic Stress Symptoms and Underlying Neural Circuitry, supervision by Professor Sedat.
Mr. Chancellor, emerging adults can experience non-marital romantic relationship dissolutions as potentially traumatic, with resultant post-traumatic stress symptomatology. This study found significantly high levels of post-traumatic stress symptoms in university students who had experienced romantic relationship dissolution compared to students who had experienced violent physical or sexual assault. On brain imaging, the two groups had similar levels of increased activation in the amygdala and hippocampus. Early identification of post-traumatic stress symptoms in the context of a romantic relationship dissolution may counter more serious mental health sequelae. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the degree PhD in Psychiatry on Alberta van der Walt.
Rian van Tonder, with dissertation Head Smart, the implementation of a law variation in community rugby union and its effect on head injury rates, with supervision provided by Professor Wayne Derman.
Mr. Chancellor, concussion remains an important injury in sport, specifically in rugby. This study investigated the impact of lowered legal tackle height law variation in community rugby union. While the concussion incidence did not change significantly, the law variation prompted positive on-field behavior changes and increased stakeholder awareness, highlighting the need for a multifaceted approach to address concussion in rugby. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the degree on Rian van Tonder.
Anne Frances Watkins, with dissertation Sensory Reactivity Assessment of Children, determining the feasibility of an adapted measurement tool for children in the Western Cape Province, South Africa, with provision provided by Professor Kloete.
Mr. Chancellor, sensory reactivity problems are characterized by difficulties regulating responses to sensory stimuli to which most people would easily adapt. An appropriate, valid, and reliable standardized assessment battery is needed, comprising a caregiver questionnaire as well as a performance-based assessment for the South African population. The study adapts the performance-based evaluation in AIR's sensory integration and sensory processing measure, second edition, for 3 to 12-year-olds in the Western Cape. A feasibility study with 30 child caregiver triads confirms face and content validity. The adapted test establishes foundation for translation in other South African languages. I therefore request you to confer the degree on Anne Frances Watkins.
Meneer die kanselier, ek versoek u om die volgende kwalifikasies in die fakulteit Geneeskunde en Gesondheidswetenskappe te verleen. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the following qualifications in the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. The qualification Master of Science. Janneke Alberts. Rensha Alberts. Emmanuel Yirgalem. Christon Basson. And cum laude, Farron Brooks. Cum laude again, Lucius Chabuka. And Leona Rachel Chazanga, cum laude. Kupanu Ribwauna Dube, cum laude. And cum laude, Hannah Fokens. Radja Gangat. And cum laude, Rebecca Carla Geldenhuis. Cum laude, Barend Jacobus Groenewald. Leratu Opel Humu. And our next degree, cum laude, to Steve Lorenzo Jacobs. Cum laude, Johara Khan. Anri Kotze. Chipisu Innocent Lenswe. And our next degree is cum laude to Candice Elvina McDonald. And another cum laude to Ravarashe Joylin Madzime. Yastika Mahabir, cum laude. Kabelu Simon Mabokane Maloka, cum laude. And another cum laude to Evura Esi Manfu. Chantal Marais. Joshua James Mattia. And cum laude degree to Erin Cullen McMaster. Burnett Adrian Meyer. Christina Johanna Mouton. And a cum laude degree to Sharnay Naidu. Look hard. Patience Ndlovu. Marta Nyirenda. And a cum laude degree to Cassidy Joy O'Brien. Another cum laude degree to Michaela Ann O'Hari. Jayet Oliver. And Rudzani Ramasya, cum laude. Anna Elizabeth Rathbone, cum laude. Bronwyn Lydia Roberts. Tina Sharon Roberts. And another cum laude degree to Krista Ingrid Rower. Aisha Rashid Sheikh. Anwani Elisana Sivada. And then we have a cum laude degree to Taylor Juliet Smith, who will be hooded by her aunt, Dr. Liesel Smith. Cameron Clark Anthony Stuurman. Sifukazi Sisanda Changa. Petrus Jurgens van Zyl. Aimee Wellmans. And cum laude, Danelle Shira Wilk. Mr. Chancellor, our next degree is the Master of Science in Sport and Exercise Medicine, and the first candidate achieved the degree cum laude, Solomon Baba Akumba. Michael Brooks, cum laude. Andre Matthew Kutsie, cum laude. And another cum laude to Menantu Theodore de Lange. Natalie Diakon, cum laude. Mark Derek Landman, cum laude. Konrad Frederik Litsch, cum laude. And another cum laude to Suanay Zwiegelaar. The next qualification, Master of Medicine, and the first candidate, Rikus Blomeris. Yasmita Bundhu. And cum laude, Johannes Gerhardus Koen. Another cum laude, Stefan Creer. Matthias Kakoko Masaku. Gaone Gosehu Mokete. Mwaka Mubita. And a cum laude degree to Esther Ruth Naidu. Shaylin Pillay. And another cum laude degree to Abram Russ. Lutandu Vazi. The next qualification, Master of Public Health and Nutrition, Nokokanya Prudence Sele. Lanine Herman. Martin Kuluta Mzumara. Salama Solomon. Ingrid Teron. For the qualification Master of Human Rehabilitation Studies, our first candidate, cum laude, Benny Josephus Tron. Nothemba Sifusake Tubela. For the qualification Master of Philosophy, Enrico Cyril Binneman. Adele Duplessis. And cum laude, Renee Glynis English. Linda Graciel Erasmus. Louise Pauline Fourie. Daniela Sephora Goeieman. Sinehlankla Gumede. Lawrence Lesego Kwape. Alison Rosalie Lupton-Smith. Tobile Malinga. Nomapelu Mbungo. And then, Mr. Chancellor, our next candidate will be hooded by his wife. This is Dr. Johannes Mouton, and he will be hooded by Dr. Marnel Mouton. Francis Kwame Salman. And our next degree is the Master of Occupational Therapy, and our first candidate is Janine Bentz. And a cum laude degree to Naomi Beth Connolly. Louise van Jaarsveld. And then for the Master of Nursing, Zubrina Bartman. And a cum laude degree to Natasha Marina de Klerk. Claudette Lutz. Elise Tahati Munenguni. Londiwe Noshipu Nzimande. And a cum laude degree to Christel van Papendorp. For the qualification Master of Nutrition, Sheldon Anthony Breda. And cum laude Nadine Grobbelaar. Annelies Rademan. Darinka Tron. For the qualification Master of Physiotherapy, Francesca Barat. Hernay Duplessis. Lania Lou. Gabriella Babette Prins. And then for the Master of Speech and Language Therapy, Bilquis Ahmad. Oh, cum laude, I am sorry. Let's clap again. Bilquis Ahmad. And another cum laude to Nina Bester. Farzana Musa. And another cum laude degree to Blessing Ntukozu Ndlovu. Annike Swart. For the qualification Bachelor of Science Honours, Junior Maduna. And for the qualification Bachelor of Science Honours in Sport Science, Karin Edward Rabi. Bachelor of Science Honours in Biokinetics, Ian Gerrit Grobbelaar. And for the postgraduate diploma in occupational medicine, Ajukanezu Gaitan Aleke. For the postgraduate diploma in midwifery, Nosipo Fente. Melanie Reiners. Iris Leonie September. Yanga Soko. Bulelwa Yame. And then for the postgraduate diploma in nursing education, Nomam Pondumise Precious Dinge. Malika Isak Collins. Nikita Faro. Visisa Ntengu. Asandiwe Kanicha Gaza. And then our next qualification, which we're moving on to, is the postgraduate diploma in primary care nursing, Asanda Daiwili. Pamakisa Gegela. Sifusetu Kimbili. Kanyisa Tanya Mandondo. Sipukasi Mkwambayi. Lulamu Saul Bopi. Asive Changela. Zetu Pinzi. And then we're moving to a new qualification group, the postgraduate diploma in mental health nursing. And our first candidate, Masegu Veronica Koloti. Zoliswa Marwanana. Gaulebalwe Sara Nawane. Asife Nkaba. Otusitse Peterson. Nomakolwa Thisani. Bismarck Chivitso Chikota. Quentin Wagner. And then for the new qualification group, postgraduate diploma in perioperative nursing, Tsolofelo Mulungana. Mandisa Paul. For the postgraduate diploma in health service management, our first candidate is Tembi Jesse Kumalo. And cum laude Lumka Tom. Adife Voku. And next for the postgraduate diploma in infectious diseases, Charlene Munkondea. And for the diploma in kritieke sorgverpleegkunde, critical care nursing, Gloria Snyders. And for the same diploma, Nopasika Tomose. We are now awarding the qualification postgraduate diploma in emergency nursing. Nozibele Grace Bakubako. Pumza Bless. For the qualification Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, Miriam Abdul Fattah. Mariam Musa. New Mfundu Zolani Sokwaliva. Our next qualification is the Bachelor of Nursing, and our first candidate is Thandowetu Langelihle Magubane. Modiswatsile Jacobus Mpadisang. And for the Bachelor of Occupational Therapy, Ria Smith. Meneer die kanselier, ek versoek u om aan die kandidaate wie se name ook aan die voorgelees maar wat nie hier teenwoordig is nie, die onderskeie kwalifikasies in hulle afwesigheid te verleen. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the respective qualifications on those candidates whose names have been presented to you, but who could not attend in their absence.
Ek ken aan die kandidate wie se naam aan my voorgelees, maar wat vandag nie teenwoordig gaan wees nie, hulle onderskeie grade en diplomas in absentia. I hereby confer on the candidates whose names have been placed before me but who are not unable to attend their degrees and diplomas in absentia. That was very quick. Are there any families who feel that they didn't get a chance to clap enough? Now's your chance. Yes. And there was a banner here. There was a banner here that no one saw and which the camera didn't see. So show it for Rebecca. Where's Rebecca? You can stand up again, Rebecca. And won't you turn around, Mom? So that die camera kan sien. Rebecca, baie geluk. There we are. And Mum, that brings me to an important part of the ceremony. Ja, maar nietemin, dis 'n mooi banier. It's from her mom. Okay. But you brought it here for her mom. Thank you for telling me. Brings me to an important part, which is that I think everyone here, every diplomate, every doctor, every medical graduate owes something to you. The tears. How many of you had tears? Oh, smart in die hart. And hard work and investment. It was sometimes difficult. How many had difficulty? You don't have to say publicly, but I'm sure you had to scrape and make it work. So won't you stand up and thank your families, please? And you can get up and see them thanking you. It's such a moment of joy, and an important feature of this morning is that our graduates and diplomates, hulle sluit aan by 230,000 maties oor die hele wêreld, from Japan to South America to Europe, North America, Africa, mostly in South Africa. We have got 230,000 graduates. And it's important that you join, because Stellenbosch is a proud jewel in South Africa's academic crown. But we need the graduates and diplomats to contribute to the alumni. We've got 33 alumni chapters across the world. Look it up. You will find other people within your field. When you apply for jobs, you might find that there's something in common with someone on the selection panel. En dan versterk julle ook ons as instelling en as universiteit. So please join. Another innovation that Professor Wim de Villiers, as Rector and Vice-Chancellor, has started is a thuiskomsnaweek, a homecoming weekend. And this year it is from the 12th to the 14th of September. And what happens at Stellenbosch is that graduates from across the world, maties, descend on the town. There are lectures, there are parties, there are reunions, there are functions. Daar is baie jolijt en gevier and a lot of learning. It's a joyful time. I've been here a couple of times over the homecoming weekend, and it's wonderful. So please mark those days in your diary as well. And now this morning, just across the field here at die stal, there will be refreshments for you. And ek weet nie almal van die sal daaraan deelneem nie, but there will be a glass of bubbly for you as well if you wish to join. So we are going to, het ek iets uitgelos, Dr. Retief? Niks uitgelos nie. Dr. Farah? Niks nie. So now we are coming to the end. I will now pronounce that by the rules and powers of the congregation, congregation has come to an end. Ek verklaar hiermee dat hierdie kongregasie van die universiteit op 'n einde is. Ons vra dat u staan. We ask you to stand as we leave the stage, and thank you all for you. Thank you.